Where do you find photography inspiration and ideas? Well, everywhere. I mean, wait. No, just a minute. Yep, I found some right here. See, you can find inspiration and ideas and ways to improve your composition and photography just about everywhere. Some people turn to nature, some people read books, and me, I found inspiration in watching movies. Cinematic inspiration from watching hundreds and hundreds of movies. But not only that, I also learned a lot from watching movies. The cinematic look has influenced my documentary and travel photography for more than a decade. Long before cinematic got so popular and hyped. Because even though there are differences, there are also a lot of things photographers can learn from filmmakers and vice versa. So I'll show you what I've learned from watching movies and how movies inspire my photography. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna show you some photos that I made more than a decade ago in photography college. When I was taking the cinematic look a little bit too far, and it's an exclusive for you guys because not many people have seen these photos. They're interesting. Okay guys, first of all, I have to mention Gregory Crutzen again, and I know I talked about him in the last video, but he's just a very important photographer for me, and I'm gonna keep it short, don't worry, but if you wanna skip it, just use the chapters that I created in the red scroll bar. Crutzen is one of those photographers whose work influenced my photography a lot. And when we talk about photography and movies, cinematic photography, you cannot not talk about Gregory Crutzen. He takes the magic of photography and movies, combines it, and turns it into something magical, something incredible. One-frame movies. It's taking cinematic photography to the next level, and it's impressive. Large sets, movie lighting, actors, a large-scale production for just one photo, but those photos are perfect. Every detail is thought out, and you can see that he's inspired by movies. I see a lot of Steven Spielberg in his photos, alien encounters, weird events. You know, after this video, just Google him and be amazed. But that's an extreme example, and inspiration coming from movies doesn't have to translate in such extreme measures to take a photo. So what have I learned from watching movies? How do they inspire my photography? And how can movies help you to improve your photography? Because you can learn a lot from looking at photos and it will help you and inspire you, but taking a little bit from filmmaking and what you see in movies and bringing that to your photography will open up a whole new can of inspiration, especially if you like the cinematic look. Okay, so the cinematic look, it's all over YouTube, it's super popular and maybe even a hype, but there's a reason why it's so popular. And I'm not talking about the 120 frames per second slow motion cinematic B-roll. Not that it doesn't look good, but for me that's not what cinematic means. I don't know any movie that's entirely shot in slow motion, but I mean, that's another discussion. For me, one of the most important things to get the cinematic look is light. Light is something that only filmmakers and photographers pay attention to, and most people won't even notice it unless something's wrong or something looks different. And the light in most movies is, yeah, perfect. They have specialized people to do the lighting, and it's part of the story, part of the viewing experience. Light plays such an important role in creating the mood in a movie. You can keep it natural or create something surreal and combine light with color grading, and yeah, it's one of the most powerful tools to get the cinematic look. And watching movies has helped me to recognize good light. Light that works well in photos. And I mean, you can take photos in any kind of light and it's subjective, but there is light that just works really well. Almost on another level, and in movies they really know what they're doing with light. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, you can use soft morning or evening light. It always works, it looks beautiful and also very cinematic if you use it right. But also specific details and tricks they use in movies. Light coming through a window and lighting up a room in a specific way, or maybe the light hits some smoke or dust. Also the sky with a specific cloud formation, or the light hitting the clouds just right at just the right time. You know, when you see a movie like The Revenant and it hits you with one beautiful scene after another, that's not a coincidence. Most people don't realize it, but a 5-second scene takes days, weeks, months of preparation and reshooting or waiting longer for the perfect moment. So watching a lot of movies and paying attention to the light, it doesn't matter if it's natural or artificial, but it will help you to recognize good light for your photography. Movie light is like magic, and when you're walking around with your camera and you're like, whoa, that over there, it looks like movie light, then you'll know it will look good on photo. Okay, so location and backgrounds. It's something a lot of beginners forget, and in movies, a location is not just a location. An important part of filmmaking is location scouting, either by the director or a specialized crew. Maybe this has happened to you. You're walking around somewhere and then you or someone else says, whoa, this place looks like a movie. There's a reason for that. It's because in movies, they look for specific locations and backgrounds that look good on film. Now, if you shoot fashion or portrait photography, then you probably also scout for locations before the shoot. But what about travel photography or street photography? Well, watching movies has helped me to spot those locations. The picture-perfect locations. Locations that will look beautiful or impressive or intriguing on photo. So a lot of times when I'm traveling or walking around, those locations catch my eye. Now, you have to be lucky that something's happening there, something interesting to photograph besides just the location itself. So you can either wait for something to happen or you can use that location for a street portrait. Just ask someone to come there and shoot your photo. And if you combine good light with a movie-worthy location and a good subject, that will result in an epic photo. Composition is important in photography and filmmaking. A lot of the same rules apply, but there are some differences. The biggest difference is that filmmakers have to deal with a moving image, where photographers just have the fixed frame, doesn't move. But that means that filmmakers can use that movement to add an extra layer on top of the composition. Even if it's just a fixed close-up shot of a face, the slight movement of either the camera or the subject, the hair for example, adds so much more emotion and mood to a shot. That's something photographers can do. They have to find a way to convey that mood through a still image. Anyway, what I've learned from watching movies is to simplify my compositions. Now, this is partly subjective because I really like the cinematography and photography of Blade Runner and Interstellar, Ad Astra, where everything is very intentional, meticulously planned, very stylized. Everything in the frame belongs there and nothing distracts. It's how I like to compose a lot of my photos, and it's one of those things where watching movies has influenced my photography and my eye for photography. It's become a part of my style. And finally, we have scenes, interactions, the subject of your photo. And I wouldn't call it the most important thing because a photo is always a combination of everything, but it's what people usually see first. In movies, a scene is planned and directed to look good on screen. Storyboards are made, and even though acting and the story is really important, it also has to look good visually. So when we see a movie scene, there's a reason why it looks like that. It's because the director directs it to look good in the frame. Two people in a conversation, a car passing by at just the right moment. Now, this is something street photographers look for all the time, the decisive moment, a nice interaction, the perfect scene. But watching movies has helped me to spot those scenes when walking around in the streets, for example. You know, some interactions work and some just don't when you take a photo. And I mean, a lot of photographers look for those interactions, even the ones that don't watch movies, but for me it has helped a lot to develop an eye for it, to find the interesting ones. I love to find those scenes where you go, hey, that looks just like a movie. And of course it's very subjective, but I think that there's a slight difference between a scene that looks good on photo, say a great street photo or a travel photo, and a scene with that little movie-like mood. It's very difficult to specify what it is exactly. And everyone will describe that movie-like mood differently, but it's a combination of everything I've mentioned in this video. light, location, composition, and interaction. Now again, you can learn a lot from looking at photos, but if you want something extra or if you're looking for inspiration, watching movies will help you a lot. Okay, and now it's time for my photos that I made in college, my overly dramatic cinematic photos. So at that time I was really exploring the cinematic look, and here I combined different photos to create one epic cinematic scene. Composite images. And I used mostly my own photos, but also some textures and details from stock images. As you can see, this was around the time when I discovered the work of Gregory Crutzen. And even though I didn't keep up this style of photography for very long, I've always been looking for the same cinematic atmosphere. It's something I really like, and it's become part of my style. And that's it, guys. So start watching movies right now. It will train your eye, it will improve your photography, and there's so much that you can take from filmmaking and bring it to your photography. Even if it's just a little thing, but it will inspire you and motivate you to create something different. It's all about learning and trying out new things. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.